Ladies and gentlemen, viewers, welcome to another episode of the Renewalism Show. Sorry, we're starting a little late today because of a technical snag. Technology knows no limits. How high it can take you, how low it can take you. We've been talking for the last several days about the show on the Renewalism Show about a certain Guru Pranachandra. He had some very interesting predictions on technology. Now, we don't really know whether this virus all around us is an outcome of technology or not. But what we do know is that what he said way back in November, December, which is what's documented in this book, which you see on my side now, Renewal, is about, yep, lots of technology hiccups today, is about how we take care of ourselves and of the planet by renewing our habits, by renewing ourselves at a mind, body, spirit level, as well as relooking at how we are interacting with the world and cultivate the habits that foster better relationships, not only with our peers, our family, and all of that, but with the planet and with the systems that we have designed to operate with. Now, a lot of the time, it is those systems that cause the damage that we are causing, and we didn't intend it that way. We intended to progress technologically, and we made cars. Along with them came a lot of pollution. We discussed that in one of the earlier episodes. We made energy efficient sources like solar. Along with that came the landfills and all those issues related to how you manage the waste of the solar stream as well. So all of that is where the hang up starts. And all I can say to you in today's episode is that we have to find a way to be grateful for it all. Yesterday, we were with our guest from Singapore discussing how we can acknowledge blessings. Today, with my guest, we're going to go a step further. We're not only going to acknowledge blessings, we're going to see how to convert everything into a blessing and actually be grateful for it. The title of today's talk is Where Do You Draw the Line on Gratitude? Can you be grateful for absolutely everything? You know, like the Dalai Lama, one of my teachers, he says that you've got to be grateful for even for terrorists. You've got to show compassion to them because they don't know what they're doing on their karmic plane. Now, today I'm joined by a gentleman who is, again, one of my mentors and teachers. He is a mentor of mentors, in fact. He's a very, very uh, influential person worldwide, considering that he's reached out to 1 billion lives. And he is extremely humble and extremely grateful. And that's something that it strikes you immediately. The name, ladies and gentlemen, is Dave Crane, and I've invited Dave from Dubai to share his thoughts on gratitude. So, as I bring up Dave, I'm gonna just before I bring him up, I'm just gonna read out to you the exact habit that we're gonna discuss today. It's about invoking gratitude independent of circumstances. The key line, this is the book Renewal. You can grab a paperback, and this is the line I'm reading to you, an inset. Things don't ever happen to you, they happen for you. It's the G24 principle of Guru Pranachandra. And he says that instead of thinking what's happening to you, you flip it over to what's happening for you. See the for in the coronavirus. See the for in whatever you think is bad. And having said all that, I think Dave is ready. Dave was just getting ready in Dubai. So, Dave, are you ready to get you on stream? Think so. Yes. You're looking good. You've got yourself on the laptop. I see you there now on stream. I hope we can hear you right.
Well, I hope so. We've got a massive challenge. I'm actually broadcasting from my iPad into my Skype. Sorry, into my Zoom, so you can picture me here, full. because otherwise I can't put it through my iPad for some strange reason. But here's the challenge. You've got to give me exactly 30 seconds to plug in my iPad to make sure it charges and doesn't disappear. If you can hear me and you can see me, then we're
We
good
hear
to.
you perfectly, and we can't wait to hear more of you. I'm going to hide your screen so that you can do those adjustments. Guys, this
Okay.
is Dave for you. This is what I was telling you. You've got technology issues everywhere. He's in Dubai and he had one. I had one right now just when we're starting up. But finding those solutions, the only way it happens is when you can be grateful for where you are. Like we said yesterday, you need a hard ground from which you can take the leap forward. You can't be saying that when everything is right, when this has happened, I will be grateful. When I make my first $1 million, I'm going to be grateful. No, when you make your first $100, when you make your first 100 rupees, that's when you start getting that habit of gratitude in, because unless you start on that firm footing, you're not having anything to springboard from and go towards. So we'll have Dave back once he's sorted out that VPN issue which we have in Dubai, and I'll bring him back. The thing is that this gentleman has, I mean, you will hear it from him, but he's had a very different growing up. And the way that he's managed to work himself around and today be a person of influence for people who are influential themselves. He's been working with the likes of James Cameron and Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan. And what took him there? How grateful can you be to get started on that sort of a journey? A lot of people on this show in the past and otherwise have this fear which they've been expressing about changing habits. It's not that difficult. The book enunciates ways to do it, but the reason I have a guest every day is so that they can speak from their experience and give you some practical tips to get into, for example, the habit of gratitude today. So, Dave, we bring you back on stream, and just give me a moment, viewers. Meanwhile, put your comments in, put your questions in, put your remarks in, and we're on. Hey, Dave, good to have you back. So that looks really good. This is the
Thank
first
you.
time I'm seeing. In India we have a word called jugaad. I'm not sure you've come across that word before, even though you've been to India.
No.
This word, it means getting things done any which way, and
Correct.
you've exemplified jugaad for us. Thank
Well,
you so much.
the bottom line is, Sandeep, I love you as a guy. I think you're a very talented speaker. I love the way that you explore the world and lead people with you to get a better life. And there's no way that I wasn't going to be here to connect with you, but it just seems such a bizarre way of putting it all together. I mean, for anybody who's just joined us, I'm literally, for what you see in front of you, we're capturing on my iPad. This is my iPad here. The camera on the front of here is what we're using. You're looking at my screen. My screen on my Mac is actually having me ready to do a Zoom call, but it was the fastest way I could bring up a screen that would be right in front of me of me talking. So we're watching a reflection in my Mac on my iPad, which I just plugged in through a VPN, which brings me live to you. So that's showbiz. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So, Dave, while we were setting up, I prepared viewers to hear a little of your story because it's not been a story of that influence that you grew up with. It wasn't that you were from um, a family that knew everybody of everybody. Tell us how gratitude played a role in that, and just take us through a little bit of that. That'll be so awesome.
Okay, well, it's very simple. You have to change the game. You have to change the game. Gratitude is a very powerful way of appreciating the world around you. And what I have is an attitude of the fact that you are in control of whatever happens to you. It doesn't mean that things will happen to you that you can't, that are good or bad. Things will just happen. But your choice is what you do with it. So I don't believe that the world is good or bad. I believe the world is a world, but you can choose how you want to interact with it. And what you've got is your brain is a supercomputer, and your supercomputer works on data. Now it's also working on programming. So what it does is notice more of what you're interested in. Let me explain how this works. There's a thing called a reticular activatory system. Now, this reticular activatory system in your brain, you can Google it, takes images of things that are all around that you're interested in, and it gives you more examples of that and things that are related to that, because it can calculate much faster than we can talk, much faster than we can announce and suggest. So what it does with that is, if you feed it lots of ideas about the world being negative, it goes, okay, today the boss says the world is negative. Let's look for more examples of why the world is negative. And it starts buzzing around trying to find bad examples. So for instance, if you wake up and you stub your toe and you've run out of toothpaste and you have an argument with the wife, then suddenly the world is a terrible place and it will turn out to be a terrible day, because you'll just notice more examples that give you the evidence that the world is a terrible place. So if you can
Right.
counteract that and change it and change the programming, so at least you throw a question mark in saying, okay, I've run out of toothpaste. That means I've got to go and get some more, which means I won't run out of toothpaste again. Right, I've had an argument with the wife, which means I get an opportunity to buy some flowers and make it up, and then we can have a big hug later on. And I've stubbed my toe. That'll teach me not to do it again. And next time I wear my shoes or I wear my slippers when I'm in the house. So you're going to turn everything around so you go back to neutral. And then when you go back to neutral, you can then get on with your life. Now you can reframe everything. And I use a thing called NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, to change the programming in my head and the people that I work with as a therapist and as a speaker, to get them to understand that the programming that we're given, and that's everywhere, the news with terrible things going on around the world, yeah, it's terrible stuff, but does that mean it's happening to you? No. So why are you paying attention to it? Stop watching the news.
Wow.
So start paying attention
Exactly.
to your life, and it's much easier.
Exactly. In fact, speaking of the news, that's activating everybody's reticular activating system towards negativity. And in this book Renewal, you read part of it. There is this whole section of how each one of us plays a role in renewing the systems. Now, can we look at a way of, the news, the media is a system. Can we look at a way of reorienting that system to start feeding people with positive impulses?
Yeah, it won't work. Forget it. I used to work for the BBC. I worked for the BBC for a number of years, and I've worked in broadcasting for a number of years. And there's a reason why bad news sells and good news doesn't. And it's down to our actual DNA as people. We were created to protect ourselves from two things. First of all, loud noises and heights. Those are the things that are built into us as babies to keep us safe, to be scared and cry with a loud noise, or to be scared of heights so we don't drop off cliffs and drop off buildings. So what we have is the ability to then be very, very careful about things that are dangerous to us, things that could threaten our lives, our reputation. So for instance, if you were a caveman and you're a hunter-gatherer and you've got a spear and you're going through with your team through
I
the forest hunting some
lost
deer or
your
something.
visual stream, Dave.
Have you lost me?
I hear you, but we've lost your visual stream.
Okay, I'm not sure why that has happened. Let me just check again. Your camera and sources will appear here. I think I may have to refresh this page. Do you want me to risk running that? If you can talk for 2 minutes, because I've used this system
Yep.
before, I'll refresh the page and hopefully I'll come straight back in again. Keep an eye out for me.
Awesome. Awesome. I will do that. In the meanwhile, viewers, this was a very interesting point. You can relate to it when you're looking for buying a Toyota car. Suddenly on the streets, you're seeing Toyota cars all over, right? You just have that methodology which is built in, that sensory impulse, which brings you what you're looking for. If you're looking for bad news, you're going to get a lot of bad news. And the point that Dave was making is that this is hardwired into us since our hunter-gatherer days. So there's very little that we can really do about it. But what's important to understand is that while that's programmed into us from our hunter-gatherer days, it is for us to give it the kind of importance that we may subconsciously be programmed to it. And that's where the habit switch comes in. Like, for instance, making a habit switch of watching Discovery Channel instead of the news channels is an individual pursuit, and that could give you the kind of images that are very different and trigger different parts of your brain. So we have Dave back again, and Dave, to continue on that subject.
Now, where was I? So with the
You were telling us why we are
cavemen
programmed
hunting gatherers, they'd
for
be
the
going out
fear
in
of
the
heights
forest
and
with us
sound,
kids.
but I was just playing along with the viewers on the
Yep,
idea of changing their habits and picking up which sensory impulses they would want to follow, because those are the ones that stress them less, and those are the ones that activate them in the right direction.
agreed,
And
agreed.
that, I
That's
believe, is
why
a function of habits.
I'll finish telling this story about the cavemen, and then we'll get back to exactly the point that you've made. So we're as cavemen, you're going along in silence, and you're hunting this buffalo, and you've got your eyes on it, and you have to get to it. And what happens is, if you're really focused on that, but if you hear a noise from over here, you're suddenly aware that something could be trailing you while you're trailing this deer or this buffalo in front. Or you hear a noise from that side, that could be a friendly tribe who like you. From that side, it could be this aggressive tribe that's hunting you. So you're
Totally.
constantly aware of all the danger around you. So that's built into us. We have to be aware of the danger. Now, the way this translates, because we're not in danger unless you're in a real problem case nowadays, but what this translates as is, if you go to an event and 100, and say you're a speaker like we are, you're on stage and 100 people watch you, and 99 give you a massive round of applause and say that was great, and one person turns around and said, "You suck. You were terrible. I hated watching you. I was bored rigid, and I'm never going to watch you again." What sticks in your head? That one person. Is it because they're proportionally more important than that 99 that said you're great? No, of course not. But what they are is they stick in your mind because we're trained to keep an eye out for danger. So we can't
Right.
forget one. So what you have to do is you have to counter it. Now, the way I do it, the way I train my people to do it, is imagine at the end of a gig, you finished it, you've got people telling you if you like it, don't like it, whatever it is, put it all in a bag, shake it. You actually have a bag, a mental bag. You shake it in your mind and take out what's useful for you and throw away the stuff that's not useful. So then you've got, right, okay, I should have smiled more. Right, I'll remember that for next time. So what that means is with your day, the news only sells because it appeals to the danger that you feel that you need to keep navigating, and you need to keep watching out for things that are going to get you. But with the exception of this year of COVID, most people have a relatively safe life. The
Right.
odds of a gunman, the odds of a ransom note or something being involved in your life are tiny, tiny, tiny. But the news wouldn't sell. If the news every day said, yesterday somebody won the lottery and this couple got married and a child was born to the people down the road, nobody would watch it because it's got no interest. But when they say, be careful because this is going to get you, suddenly this part of your conditioning says, right, I've got to be very careful. Tell me more about it. So the only way to deal with it, as you rightly said, just as I came back on again, is to stop allowing the programming to get in. Work out in your own head how to turn it around so you end up getting a positive spin on everything and a silver lining on every cloud. And sometimes that's really difficult because it can be a really heavy cloud. But it's amazing to
Right.
find that some of the most positive people are cancer survivors because they knew that it was going to end. So they then said, well, what can I get out of life while I still have it? And that mindset change, that ability to laugh at adversity, is what gets them through, and it changes their attitude to life. So without a tragedy to change you, if you can get your act together earlier, you get an amazing life out of it. The unfortunate thing is most people don't. Most people have to lose their job, lose a loved one, have some kind of a tragedy or some kind of ailment before they then step back, look at the coding and the programming that took them to that level where they were then, and then decide to do something about it. And that's just human nature.
Right. We have a comment here on that subject of attitude. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it in your screen, but I'll read it out for you, everybody. Uh, she says that it's talking about positive energy on the mind and in overall in the attitude. Also, we stop taking anything for granted. Now, this is another big habit that we have acquired, and why is another question. But when we have expectations and they are not met, then we think that we are. It is admissible. We are in fact entitled to feel miserable. And what would be your advice for times like that when you've taken things for granted, when you have expectations, they don't work out? How can you be grateful for that? Can you?
Yeah, I would say that first of all, you should expect good things to come for you because that's why things will start to happen. It's not because more things are coming to you, it's just you'll notice them when they're on the way to you. That's why having a vision board with all the things you want in life stepped out. So all the things you want, long term, short term, the holidays, the pictures of you with your family going and doing great things, living in a house you want, doing the job you want, wearing the clothes you want, all the things you want, all the words you want to be associated with. By putting that in front of you, you create an association in your mind that says those are the things your mind is going to be looking out for and creating the code for. So let's put this into perspective. When you walk into a nightclub or into a bar or a restaurant and the music's blaring and you're looking for your friends, there's no way you'll be able to hear them shouting your name because it's just too loud. But if they shout your name, you'll turn around and you go like that and you'll suddenly see them. Why does that
Yeah.
happen? Well, it happens very quickly because your brain is coded to go through all the noise and find your name. You're looking for those people to shout your name so you can find it. So that's how the programming works for this. Your vision board, your mindset change can get through all the rubbish messages you get, like a million a day of all these things saying the world's terrible, it's your fault, blah, blah, blah. You can cut through it all and only grasp the things you're interested in that are positive for you. And that's how you get the attitude of gratitude to work for you.
Wow, awesome, awesome. The attitude of gratitude works for you because you're in fact using the hardwiring that you've got to get focused on what you're expecting. So expect the best, make a vision board. Awesome. That's really stuff that anybody can do, Dave, and that's incredible. Now we're on the top of 20 minutes, so I'm going to kind of start winding this up. But I just like to leave viewers with a welcome to add their comments in because I see them. Dave would take a look. We are very happy to answer questions because a lot of people see these videos when they're not live. And please add your comments and we can address them. Meanwhile, this
Can I
book,
just, may I add
I'm
one
going to
thing?
bring you back, Dave. Absolutely.
I was
Just
going to
give me a
say,
moment.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this book is available on Amazon and on renewalism.com. And you could grab a copy to understand more deeply how the whole concept of self renewal works, gratitude being a very, very important integral part of it. So, that said, the Renewalism Show, we invite you every night at 9 p.m. on the same page. We have a new guest every night. And tomorrow we're going to have a guest who's going to talk about the generation above, the elders. And how is it that Gen X and Gen Y are looking at them and what's sustainable in the long term to renew us. Sorry, Dave, I cut you off, but I really wanted to make sure that I have the last word with you because before we leave the audience today, I'd really like you to share something that they can hold on. Not that they haven't held on to a lot you said, but something for them now. Over to you.
Yeah, okay. There's a couple of things that I was going to throw in. What I wanted to say in the back of what we said is, first of all, you've got to take action. You can't just make a vision board and sit there because it's too slow. You have to go out and do stuff, and then it will guide you to where you want to be. And so that means that if you're going into a room and you've got a vision of a brand new red Porsche, you're going to look around subconsciously, brain and be saying, who's likely to get me closer to having a red Porsche in this room? And you'll drive yourself towards talking to people who are most likely to have a Porsche because that'll get you closer to that thing. That's a material example, but it's true about a lot of different things. What is true as well is about the coding you have inside yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much. If you've not got what you want, then remember a marathon is not about getting to 26 miles. It's about putting one step in front of the other and repeating it. And also have a sense of humor. Laugh at yourself all the time when you get things wrong. It's a work in progress. If it was given to you straight away, you wouldn't value it. The fact you're working for it and achieving it as you go means you know how to create it. And it means that when it comes to you, then you can really appreciate it because you know that you got it. Those are the things I'd like to add.
True, very true, very true. In fact, it's such a wonderful discussion. I would love to go on with this. Just to summarize that, it's not just the vision board, it's taking action. I'm repeating this, Dave, because the audio is a little low at your end. And it's about persistence, and it's about putting one step ahead of the other. It's not about the marathon, but just taking the next steps. Awesome, Dave. So, is there something else that you'd like to close today's session on?
I would only suggest that what you need to do as well is as things go around the world and as things happen to people, you have to make sure that what happens to you is important. You can't control everybody else. You can't control the news, but you can control how you react to it. That's the one thing that you get. So react to help people as much as it can, and the world around you will become a better place just by doing that.
Awesome, awesome. Your reactions are your control, and that's what you got to be focused on. Thank you so much, Dave. I think today's episode also exemplified a lot of things that can go wrong, but you can be smiling through all of that. I really appreciate your smile, and that's what you're teaching the world to do. Thank you so very much. I'm one of your students, and I'm so proud of that. Thank you. Ciao. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's join up again tomorrow night, same time, same page. Have a great evening. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Cheers.